That's completely fine. And with that, we'll move on. We're on to item 8, which is 2222 Santa Barbara Street. 222. This is a proposal for a new front entry porch and alterations to 2 front windows. Staff hearing officer approval of a modification is requested for these alterations to be located within the front setback. The existing 2-story single-family residence was recently demolished. The project is located on a 10,000 square foot lot in the Mission Special Design District.
Okay, I am Eduardo Diaz, designer of the project. The applicant is
Contractor for Easter Day Construction, Libby McClure.
Olga Martel.
We're waiting for some drawings.
no, just the ones I submitted. You have one here?
I have a set.
We'll actually give you those back, because we only need to keep one for the record.
Great, we're going to take that one here.
Okay.
Okay. What we're doing here is, let's look at the elevations first. Okay. This project is currently under construction, and this is the front elevation that was approved, permitted. And now the client here decided that she wanted to improve, the looks of the front elevation. And we were studying it and decided that we make some small changes, just like changing the shape of these 2 windows in the same location. And this dormer just pushing it a little bit to the front to create this porch element that will change in a very nice way the front elevation. So at the beginning, when we started the project, this is a existing non-conforming condition, and this portion of the house is encroaching the front yard setback. So we decided not to touch that because we wanted to avoid asking for a modification. Now that we see that potential that we have, creating this look, we decided to apply for the modification, asking for those 2 changes. The shape of the windows and this the front door and this gable roof element. That's basically what we are doing. We want comments from you so we can go forward and apply for the modification.
Okay.
This is all new construction, right?
Yes.
The house is gone. This is gone now.
That's correct.
I have a question, but I'll wait till later in the process.
This is just the side elevations, to see the difference where the approved dormer is and where it will be here.
I'll ask it. The approved dormers and things, is that not in the front yard setback?
No, it's not.
It's like right on.
Yes.
So everything on this side or in front of that dormer was in the front yard mod, and everything behind it.
Yes. If we look at the floor plan here, well, you can see it here, this is the front yard setback. And these 2 dormers are not in the setback. So the other dormer used to be right here. So now we are proposing it right there.
So is this in the setback?
This is in the setback, and they originally weren't going to touch it. And that this area was all new construction that was within their buildable area. And then since then they decided to take this dormer and pull it forward, which requires a mod.
Yeah. We are not...
They demolished it, right?
They technically can rebuild the existing same size as before.
And that's what we intend to do, yes. And I can show you here on the floor plan that we are not adding any living space. It's just this element here, you know. But everything else just remains the way it is.
Okay.
Is there another level besides the main level?
Yes, we have a lower level here.
What's this then? He's not talking about that. Is
Okay.
that the front profile? Oh, yeah, that's it.
See if we went, I just want to make sure we went through all the sheets that you have. That was the roof plan. That's the front. Permit. Okay.
You have an overall site plan,
Get to
the
that.
whole thing, the whole property.
Do you have the other side?
No, unfortunately, I don't have that elevation.
And then you also don't have the rear?
No.
Okay. And Bill wanted to see the overall site plan.
Yes, it's there.
Okay. And hold your questions to work on. Good. You anything else?
Oh, you want to add anything?
No.
Okay.
Just wait for questions, I guess.
We'll open up public comment. Tony Fisher.
This guy.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Fisher. I live in the neighborhood, and when the house was torn down, a number of neighbors and other people in the neighborhood said, "What's happening?" We all had notice and belief that it was a minor remodel, an addition, and now the house is gone. And I've tried to figure out, and they all were concerned about, this is in the Mission District, so a number of comments were, gee, maybe now we can end up with something nicer than was there before. I've tried to figure out what happened. The last time the project was in front of the full board was in June of 2009. And what you saw then is significantly different from what, in my view, of what got approved and has been given a building permit because of changes made either on staff level or on consent agenda. And I looked at the notices for those, and while it did make reference that there was going to be a 2-foot change in a plate and a change in the roof height, it nowhere indicated that that was for the entire building. It just looked like it might be only for the addition, so nobody saw it as something to be concerned about. So what has come to this level is a different building, and as if it's permitted and being rebuilt, is different from what the neighborhood saw when this first came in and went through the normal notice process. And that raises the question of what's permitted to be rebuilt once you tear down a building, and then what should be permitted to be rebuilt. This one violates the front yard. When you walk the neighborhood, it's the only one that's got a wall of the single-family homes. It's got a wall right out at the front yard. And the rest of them all really respect on Santa Barbara Street that front yard setback. I think because of the concerns raised by the neighbors, they'd like to have a notice as to what's exactly happening, because the description that has come out is confusing and doesn't really say that this design that's now proposed is quite different in appearance from what was originally proposed. And that's what the neighborhood thought was happening. And I don't know, because the neighborhood is not really, it's a process question as much as anything else, as well as the fact most people think that when you tear down a house, you start with a clean slate in terms of what can be rebuilt. and this one is now torn down, and therefore, in the Mission District, at that location, you may want to take a new look at what's the appropriate design and architecture for the neighborhood, including the setbacks. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one more speaker, Gil Garcia, and you can fill out the form in a minute.
Well, I'm the neighbor that lives directly across the street, and I just want to say that I have seen this project and recognize what they've been going through. They did knock it down, whether intended or not. I think it might have been done, maybe an aggressive demolition. But for whatever reason, I think it's a good project, a solid project. I'll be seeing it. I have no problem with it. But I do think that to start over with the foundation, where it's at and everything, would be a major, major problem for the owner to do that. So I think that the foundation's in place. I think she should be allowed to proceed with the design.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers for this project? I'd like to, letter from Paula Westbury, perhaps?
Yes, a letter from Paula in opposition.
Okay. Can I get a staff comment about existing non-conforming structures that, when they're demolished, can be rebuilt, as long as it's a like-for-like kind of condition? And
That's right. The portion of it that was within the setback would have to be like for like, except this application's requesting some alterations to that would require approval of a mod.
Okay, and so that we're informed of what those modifications are. In this case, it happened to be some window sizes, maybe window locations. But the top of roof, the plate heights, the roof pitch, all that's going to be what the archive drawings have on file.
Right.
Okay. I'll return it to the board for questions of the applicant or staff.
I mean, the question is, I know that they can do that. You know, if they can build it back the way it was, but they don't have to. There's nothing that says they have to do that, right?
That's right, and it is.
I mean, if George Washington Smith came up from the grave and said, "I want to rebuild this house back, but I think I want to do it a little bit differently," the city wouldn't say, "No, you can't. You've got to replace it just exactly the way it was." Isn't that true?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is in a design district too, so whatever they do requires your approval here.
Okay. Questions of the applicant? And then, if no more questions, we'll go into comments. Bernie.
Because what we have on this is doesn't refer back to the original house, but can you remind us what was the size of this home and what was the FAR on this home? Because I remember it was like 99%.
It was.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact original FAR, but it was something like 60-something, and now it's 99. But I'm not sure about that.
It's somewhere
Yeah.
between 99 and 100. It's definitely pushing the limit.
Yeah, right now it is 99.9. But she was asking about the original, right? So.
What I have noted here, which I don't know, October 27th, 2008, it was a proposal to construct a new attached 460 square foot two-car garage and a 32 square foot addition to the existing 3,258 square foot two-story single-family residence. The project includes a deck above the new garage and an addition, a new trellis, demolition of the existing garage, and a 27 cubic yards of fill grading. The proposed total of 3,732 square feet on the 10,000 square foot lot is in the Mission Special Design District and is 99% of the maximum FAR.
And we did not change that.
The same.
That's
We
the
haven't
same.
done any changes.
Just for the board's clarification, this is next to the Poor Clare's Monastery, and there was like a brick wall here, and at one time I think there was a trellis that was kind of attached to the monastery wall and to their house. Just to refresh people's memory.
Wasn't a demolition project with a new project.
That is correct, and that is why this project is here. Because the project was an addition to an existing structure, the intention was that we were just doing minor renovation. And when the project was demoed, then, at least from my perspective as being on this board, we get to comment on the quality of the architecture of the rebuilt structure. So what calls into play is the top of the chimney, the window details, the door details, all those things, because basically it's a brand new house. This isn't an older home in the neighborhood where it's existing non-conforming. It's a new structure, and it's in the Mission Special Design District because of the proximity to the mission. That means it gets extra attention.
Understood.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would just like to comment that I feel like our board has the wool put over their eyes on this project. We come over here, we were proposed that there was some window fenestration changes, there was a deck proposed in the back, and the garage. We labored over the distance of the driveway and the garage, and we labored over a lot of things on this small detail. And this is not the same project. And I would, for one, would not be in support of having three-sided modifications on a teardown. As this project stands right now, I can't support it at all.
Thank you. Glenn?
Question, do you have photos of the house that was torn down?
Well, we have, you haven't the file.
And then do we have the permitted set of drawings of what was approved? Go back to the elevation.
Did you keep the one that had got preliminary approval? Is that preliminary?
Is there any elevations for the sheets?
Your elevations right here, I don't know if were these the original ones? Were these the original ones that were? Were these the original ones that we saw before?
No, this were just
What are these about?
those were just preliminary ideas when we were working on the original design. You know, I don't know how this.
What is that? What?
No, on this package, we only wanted to submit the photos of the existing condition. These were just ideas.
Those are ideas.
Ideas that when we started the design. That package contains only the photos of the existing condition.
Was there any elevations from the preliminary approval set?
Review after finals with elevation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are the findings. This is when we change the height of the building without touching any of the...
Somehow I think, well, that's an opinion. Okay. Well, we need to decide how we're going to approach this.
This is review after one? It's different than that. So,
Mr. Chair, I agree that I mean I agree with Gil's comment that if the foundations are there, there probably is it would be reasonable to accept that general footprint, although there might be some modifications to that. I don't find this architecture here or this architecture here to be compatible with the Mission District. I mean, just because it's kind of got Spanish motifs here and there, it's not, the composition, it just isn't, the architecture is just not working. And we're going to build it back. I think it's got to be done very, very carefully and very appropriately in a, Spanish colonial revival style.
Thank you.
High quality.
Does the board kind of understand what Bill was kind of implying? And I couldn't verbalize it, but I concur with what Mr. Mahan was saying in the sense that I'm all right with the part of the house that was built in the setback area to be rebuilt to the same exact size, maybe moving the windows around or a little bit of the character to match the new architecture. But the rest of the house, now that it's gone, has to match, or has to be of a quality of architecture for that neighborhood. And there's some quirkiness that happens here. And this front elevation, I'll just be blunt and say it was a mistake, and whoever was review after final on consent to permit this, that was just, and you know what, we're not perfect, and the ball was dropped somehow. But that should have never gone through raising the roof by 2 feet. That was, oops. So at this point, now the house is gone, we can correct some of that. Going with the new style of architecture, a modification for design and quality is something the board, depending on the review, can support. But the whole house, all 4 elevations, the whole complex has to be presented to us as a brand new home. And what part is in the setback is going to get, is existing non-conforming in the sense that it's the height and everything. Everything else behind here can be taller and bigger and, all that kind of stuff. But it's a brand new home now. And that's the task you have in front of you now that the home is gone.
I agree with that, Mr. Chair, and I would suggest that you go to the Rose Garden in front of the Mission and you study the architecture along that particular street, Plaza Rubio. That's the quintessential residential, small residential architecture that is just so wonderful. And if this house fits into that, it is compatible with those houses, you're going to sail right through here.
Does any other board member have a comment to differing or the same? Anything else to comment on this? If not, we need to have a motion and move the project forward.
Well, so you're asking the owner that is going to start from square one with architectural details?
Unfortunately, yes.
Designed more than
Well, one of the reasons the house was demoed the way it was because originally how it was built, there was no weave screeds, there was no flashing, the walls were very deteriorated, and it would be impossible to get that roof plate
This
changed.
extra 2 feet is what killed you.
Yeah, exactly.
And once you did that, it's all new construction.
But it's all on the same foundation, same site walls are there, and retaining walls are there.
I don't think we're saying that the shape, there's something wrong with
The footprint can stay the way it is.
But I'm just saying the expense to the owner, if this was, the owner's, this was approved, this final design,
It was.
then why can't we put the house back to this final design that was approved?
The final design that was approved, somebody, and I'm not, approved this and that's fine, and you had a blessing to do a remodel in this kind of vernacular. It was one person on a design review, or it was just the staff made that assessment, not the entire board. And if you kept the house and you just re-roofed everything and you did this, you'd be fine because you have a permit. We might not have liked it, but now that the whole house is gone, we're going to say, you know what? The board says that this is kind of funny or odd, or it doesn't fit the rest of the neighborhood having these kind of dormers up here. And then the windows on the side, we're not just going to allow any old type of window to be thrown in there. We're going to want to see what is historically responsible deep sill and those types of windows for here. And how many chimneys around town have a cantilever and look like that? This,
You can have a window underneath.
you know, there's some of the stuff that it's an existing home, it had a permit, that's fine. But with new construction, we look at it differently. And so it's what makes this house different than all the other houses in the neighborhood or in town is that you're around the mission. And we didn't establish what this Mission Special Design District is, but those homes there have to have a certain higher level of quality because it's Santa Barbara. So with that,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for an indefinite continuance for the applicant to prepare new designs. We'd like to see 4 elevations. We're not concerned with the existing footprint. We think you can work within that, but we want to see 4 new elevations that are very appropriate to the Mission District.
is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Denise. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, just to give the applicant or the designer a little bit of more guidelines or direction. Can we formulate some sort of language pertaining to the height of the wall, the roof, so we give him clear direction as to whether we prefer the roof to be at a lower elevation, or is the higher elevation that's shown on this plan here acceptable?
Well, my 2 cents, now that the house is gone, you can go up to 30 feet. You know, the part that's in the front yard setback has to be exactly what it is, and if it used to be a 7'9" plate, then that's what it is. You know,
But it could be modified.
it could be modified with another mod if you wanted to go up to 8 feet or something.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, a correction on that.
Oh,
Because this is above 85% FAR, it's limited to 25 feet.
there you
And I
go.
think they're pretty close to that, and they're right
So
at
25 feet is your
100%.
limit.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think the thing is, if the architect comes back in with a beautiful design for the front, all 4 sides, but the front, I certainly would support a modification, for something different than what was there before.
And that's a very important statement because the quality of the design is more important than keeping that whatever you used to have there.
Yeah, that's right.
So with that, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You're opposed? That's fine.
And setback, reasons for the setback.
Reason for the setback.
Yeah, especially on the driveway side where the fireplace is cantilevered.
We need to save this one. It has text on it. Can I see that one?
That one?
Yes.
The others use, yeah.
How about take the ones that have been rolled? Every folded one we should save.
These are rolled archive.
Foundations are still there. Let's go.
We're moving on to item 9, which is 1528 Santa Rosa Avenue. This is a new project for us, so I'll read the project description. This is a proposal for a 526 square foot first floor addition and a new 275 square foot second story to an existing 1,505 square foot one-story single-family residence. The existing 195 square foot carport will be demolished, and a new 271 square foot one-car garage and 1 uncovered parking space is proposed. The proposed total of 2,577 square feet on the 10,000 square foot lot is 69% of the maximum FAR. Your name for the record.
Okay, I'm Susan Sherwin with Buildston Sherwin, the architects, and
Bernie Fodenhauer, the owner.
Great.
so this is a small lot up on the mesa. There's an existing, it's one of these parcels that originally was quite a bit deeper. There's an access driveway. There are 2 houses to the rear of our property. So there's an easement that goes through here. Let's see, I don't know if you've seen any photographs. These are photographs of the existing
I'm right here in the center
house.
of the TV guy.
Okay. Photographs of the existing house.
Okay.
And we're proposing, and then these are photographs of the houses on either side and other houses in the neighborhood. So there's quite a few houses that have second stories that have been built in the neighborhood. Right now, on the parcel, there's just, for parking, there's just a kind of an oversized one-car carport right in this area. So what we're proposing is a master bedroom addition of at the ground, one single story here, a study, well, basically 2 studies, kind of a study down below and another study up on top, stacked here, and then removing the existing carport and building a one-car garage here with an uncovered parking space to the rear.
Let's see the elevations.
So that's our existing plan. This is our new plan. And this, yeah. That's the upper floor plan. Elevations. So these are the 2 studies, the new master bedroom. This is the garage, which is sort of looks odd because it's at the angle.
Skewed.
Yeah.
And then like the side off the easement driveway.
And then that's the other side off the
This
driveway. And so the lot does slope from, it's higher in the back than in the front. So setting the 2-story volume towards the front of the house means that we can step it down a little bit from the main. It's a raised foundation, so we can step it down a little bit and put this part on slab. So it was the location to add the 2nd story that would be, in a way, the lowest that we could, as opposed to adding it further back on the lot, adding the 2nd story.
Thank you. I think we understand it. And with that, I'll open up public comment. Seeing no one behind you, I would go to staff.
Where's my neighbors?
Any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have a letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Okay, so noted. With that, I'll go back to the board for questions of the applicant.
Chair, I have a question about why is the garage as tall as it is?
We were ideally putting some storage up in the top of it. Show the garage. I don't know if I have, but basically we were trying to get about 4 or 5 feet of storage at the maximum point, just because we don't have a lot of garage space.
What are our plate heights here?
8 feet.
This is 8 foot here, and
And another
this is
8 foot
here,
here.
and then on this one here, this is that an 8 foot?
Yes.
Also.
Yes.
And is there a chance to step this floor down like you did the other one?
There would be, but because this is the master bedroom,
Look into the plan.
we're ideally, because this is the home that the couple is hoping to retire to, I would hope that their master bedroom would be on exactly the same level as the rest of the house.
And it's the house is raised up, isn't it?
Correct, it's raised foundation, yeah.
Thank you. Can I see that focus real fast? Any other questions? If not, we'll jump to comments. Oh, you just got a set too. I guess I have a question. Is there any natural rock currently being used on the property? I mean, I was noticing briefly.
Yeah.
Is there like a patio there? Is it flagstone or is
Well,
there
there
actual?
are these small retaining walls on the site that exist. This house, actually, there was a structural fire about, how long ago was it?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago. So most of the house was sort of rebuilt to its original configuration, and the owner re-landscaped. So there's a stone retaining wall that's kind of right here, and there's another one right here, which is actually right at the property line, and then there's quite a wide sort of, it's the right-of-way for the street if they ever wanted to put a sidewalk in, but of course it's not, so it's just grassy area out here now. So there's a retaining wall here and one here. And then there's a lot of flagstone that the owner has put in for pathways, and there's actually the wall back here as well.
Thank you. Any more questions? And if not, we'll go to comments. Being the chair, I can't go first, or I shouldn't, so I'm waiting.
Okay.
Any questions or comments?
I have just a quick question. Are you trying to satisfy the 2 parking space requirement because of the increased size by the 1 car garage plus the 1 uncovered parking place?
Tony, you'll help me with this because I know you're the one that pointed out. I'm allowed to have just a single car garage and an uncovered parking space because of, and I'm trying to remember.
You're under 85% FAR.
I guess because I'm under 85% FAR, is that right? Okay. Yeah. And quite honestly, part of this as well is I'm working with multiple sort of limitations, and one of the things is if we built a 2-car garage, we would be triggering undergrounding of utilities and some other things that are would be much more costly for the owner. So we were attempting to avoid that as part of this. I mean, it's, there's...
It's 50% of the rebuild cost, and that's what triggered it. So, all right. You really, if you put a garage and did this remodel, building department's requiring undergrounding?
Yeah, there's a certain threshold of square footage.
You don't have to go there. I've
Okay.
thought it before.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair? I'm ready to make some comments. I don't find it, as it's presented, to be compatible with the neighboring houses. I drove by yesterday, and there's the house to the west has a very nice the way it's composed and stepped back, and it's got a little Monterey porch there, and it's very charming. The house to the east is a little bit different, maybe more like a one-story house. This house just doesn't seem to possess any charm, and the proportions seem to be odd in terms of the scale of that window and the height of this bay. I'm not sure. I don't think it's necessarily what they're trying to accomplish that's wrong. I think it's just the way they haven't gotten there yet in terms of. You brought up the issue of stone, and maybe there needs to be some stone introduced to pull this down to the earth. And this garage maybe is just out of proportion with other things. And I just don't. This kind of a elevation it just doesn't seem to work for me.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair.
Glenn.
I would echo Bill's comments about, especially about the proportions of that window on the second level. But the one thing that stood out when I looked at the drawings was sort of the connection between the addition and the house. The roofs don't necessarily come together very well. There's another elevation. This elevation right here. And I think you actually show it on the second floor plan, where this roof actually continues in.
There's a section, I think, for
Right here. Well, this ridge comes through. So on the elevations, it's just this would look much better if it was coordinated to that. The biggest issue, I think, is this two-story version and this shed roof, and making those masses come together more pleasingly.
Thank you. Comments from somebody else? I'll actually echo those all. The program, there's nothing wrong with the program. It's not being aggressive at all. It's just the design style, which is why the board is here to look at things, and it's just quite not there. And I would, go to the building department and really make sure you have to underground if you did a two-car garage and verify that.
Yeah, I will. Part of what you're saying is that there are if I could show you existing elevations, we're trying to reutilize certain windows and things, but maybe it's just not going to work. But the owner had the desire to try to reutilize some of these windows that are only a couple years old, and by integrating them into new parts of the house. Maybe it won't work, but that's where some of these elements came from,
Move it to the first floor and move this one up.
That's where I wanted it.
Mr. Chair, that window needs a bigger building to go into. That's the building. This wing that's sticking out there isn't big enough for that window. So if you have to use that window, you're going to have to expand the wing because they don't compose together.
Okay.
And it needs some more study.
So we need a motion from the board if there's no other comments. Thank you.
We can follow the direction that the project seems to be going in terms of size and but we need to study the design in order to make the masses of the building come together, and we also need to see more architectural detail to bring it into more of a neighborhood style. Add some charming architectural details. And I guess as far as the parking, we would support the proposed parking unless they're able to somehow satisfy themselves that they can do a two-car garage instead of a one-car garage.
I don't know if we should go there. I mean, that's their own thing between a one and two-car garage. With your motion, we never talked about the height, the 11-foot plate height as a board, and I don't think now is the time, but I'll let you make your motion, and under discussion, I want to throw that out.
Yeah, no, let's continue. Can I let you continue my motion?
Well, I think the applicant understands what we're saying is the project needs to have some charm-giving elements and redesigned for the quality that we're looking for the neighborhood. So with that, that's the motion. First and a second. Bernie's the first.
Second.
Second by...
In discussion, Mr. Chair,
discussion.
I think I realize that you want to have storage in the garage. Maybe it could be a little longer and come down so that it's in scale with the neighborhood.
The garage looks very funky. And having 11-foot plate height doesn't match the rest of the house. It just looks out of proportion. But that's just wherever I saw that one view. And however, it's a charm thing, and it's just being presented kind of weird right now. But that's my own. There was another. There it is. I mean, you're going down to a less than 6-foot plate height over here, and then up, and it's just like so. It just needs to get addressed and massaged. So just so you know, we're not saying that's fine. Do we have a first and a second? Any other discussion for this?
Is the fireplace just going to be left alone?
The brick fireplace
The
in the
brick
front.
fireplace, yeah, I mean, we're kind of trying to work with the, as much of the existing house as we had without redoing things that had just been redone. So there is a brick fireplace there, and unless we've painted it or something.
Mr. Chair, I think your suggestion of integrating some more of the stone in would help to bring some of these heights that don't seem to work, and that would be a suggestion to.
We'll leave it off the motion
Yeah.
because there's many options out there. But
You could do it with some skirting as well or something that's
Yeah.
going to change the height bill.
So with that, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And it's an indefinite continuance, so put yourself back on the board when you're ready.
Okay, thank you.
We're on the last item of the night. By 5 minutes. This is 2717 El Prado Road. This is a new item, so I will read the project description. The proposal is for an 822 square foot below grade addition and a 96 square foot second story accessory space above the existing detached 356 square foot two-car garage. The project includes a new pool, terrace, stairs, planter, and retaining walls. The proposal is to remove a trellis and replace it with a new covered patio at the rear of the existing 1,563 square foot, one-story, single-family residence. The proposed total of 2,648 square feet includes a 50% deduction for the partially below-grade footage, resulting in a total of 71% of the maximum floor area ratio on the 10,000 square foot lot. Staff hearing officer approval of a modification is requested for a second-story guardrail to encroach into the interior setback and for the accessory space to exceed the maximum allowable of 500 square feet. Your names for the record?
Great. I'm Kent Mixon, architect, and
Ray Twyford
from my office. So what we have, you can first look at the existing site survey. El Prado Street is out here. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this area in San Marcan, but it terraces quite a bit as
Actually,
the
let's
as the
just
house
start
goes
with
away.
this for people who haven't.
There we
This
go.
is the house here,
Yes.
high up, and then the garage is further back.
Yep. And then the back of the site also terraces as you step back from this back porch
So
or
this would
patio
be
as well.
your stairs and your driveway.
Yes, yeah.
And there's the garage.
Existing garage, that's the existing garage. Existing trellis, existing rear of house from the upper.
Oh, this is a great shot.
And then there.
Okay. Now we're familiar.
So, existing house, existing garage here, driveway up the side, several terraces in the backyard. This is all one level up to this point. The proposal is to get just a small pool in the backyard, as well as a stair up to kind of a Rex type space above this garage, and which opens up to the various terraces. These every one of these, well, the pool and this lower terrace or this mid terrace are at the same height. This is kind of a mid terrace between this proposed building and that terrace, and then it steps up from this lower terrace that we have down here. See the existing plan.
Where's the property line in relationship to this garage?
right
It
at
kind
the
of cuts.
inside the door there, or just outside the door. I guess.
Oh, the setback line, I'm sorry.
Kind of see it. No, it can show over there.
You can kind of see this dash is the existing garage.
I'm sorry, I was confused.
So that line there.
Yeah, so our new building sets parallel to that slightly skewed setback line, and
Okay.
so it adheres to the setback on that one side. You can actually show it on here then. So this is the lower floor area, an existing garage. We're building around that. This area here is, and I'll show you on the exterior elevations. is essentially all, except for a very small portion right here, is completely subterranean. And this is our area for our pool toys, which are easily accessible, as well as the pool equipment, so that the pool guy can come in, maintain things, and not have to get in or out of any other structures. And then this area, this just basically follows the footprint of what's up above. And we have a slightly substandard garage. I mean, it's close. Do you know the dimensions offhand? It's like 20 by 20 or 19 and a half or something like that, interior dimensions. And they would like to be able to get 2 cars in there right now, but just with storage, and you can see at the house, there's just no storage in this house. They want to be able to capture more storage as part of the project, and hence the request for the additional beyond the 500 square feet for what is this space, which is just below the 500 square feet of area. The existing face of garage sits out here, and what we're doing is pushing this proposed structure back and on top of it a little bit, so we can create a little bit of a deck here. There's a great view towards the beach this way, and actually towards the Riviera and the seminary. You can see the seminary tower and so forth out this direction. These are just big doors. This is not a walk-through here. You have to either get out and come this way. These are just big doors that would be able to open up and provide ventilation and just conversation and that sort of space. And then we have our minimal bathroom that we are allowed to have per city standards. This is the existing elevations and slight sections, I guess, as well, through where that garage area is, and you can see where the edge of the existing residence. You can see here the existing, or the proposed area. What's that line? It's down here somewhere.
The subterranean stuff?
Yeah, the subterranean area is there. This is obviously the existing back of garage. So there's a slight area where, kind of in here, which would be ever so slightly above the existing grade of where the ceiling line would be in there. The new trellis or patio cover off the back of the house, and I think that pretty much describes it.
Cool. The other thing was the railing.
Oh yeah, the
requested mod for that.
Which is basically what we're asking for is that there's an existing roof that kind of sits back in here, and just to provide an architectural continuity of the front of that railing on that deck, we're just going to continue it over to the side. Actually, you might be able to see it a little bit better. I've got a couple of images here.
Close enough.
Kind of see it there. It's basically this little area right here, just so that there's not an awkward condition of that existing roof coming in.
The deck actually just holds back in here.
It'll come up during questions, so I'll ask, what's the distance between the property line and where the deck ends? Do you have that shown on your second floor?
I'm not sure if it's dimensioned, but
this line
yeah,
here?
that's our line there, basically, where this sloping roof is coming down. Property line's there, yeah.
What scale?
It's roughly 10 feet.
Quarter scale?
So it's 10 feet at that point right there.
Okay, thank you.
Can you see that thing?
I heard the photo.
Oh.
Thing. Great, good presentation. I'll open up public comment. I see there's lots behind you. And go to staff.
Yes, we got an email that I forwarded to the board members this morning in support of the project from Todd and Patty Gutshaw. We also have a letter in opposition from Paula Westbury.
Okay,
Did you all get the email?
I got it, yes. So with that, we will open the Questions from the board to the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Glenn?
Just a clarification, I think. On the agenda, it talks about a 496 square foot second story accessory space.
That's this space.
Is there more accessory space?
The additional, which we're asking the mod for, is this, all the subterranean storage and pool equipment.
So that's all considered accessory, that's why the
Yeah.
modification, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Question on the,
Mr. Mahan?
yeah, it looks like, a little column got in there and there. I don't see anything. It looked like it kind of got in there, but it didn't get in there. Are those columns out on that?
I think that's just a gutter.
Those are
at this
downspouts?
point, But we still need
Is
to
this
follow
all,
with
is this just a cantilevered roof out here?
Yeah, it just extends a little bit further to pick up shading.
So
That's our south side of the house or the structure. So it provides shade to this big window that we have here. And that's just basically, well, no, that's the porch in the back, isn't it?
Yeah, so there is a column
Yeah.
there where that beam is.
But there's no columns,
No,
there's
those
no
are-
columns out here.
No.
That's like right over here.
Yeah, so that roof line.
Which way are we looking at?
Because here's the bathroom window. Isn't this the bathroom window?
Yes.
And these sliding glass doors are those?
Yeah. Oh, I see, yeah, what you're seeing is that roof line that's coming there.
Which is even farther.
But is that a column there then?
So that's the column,
That's
but the
the
roof
column
line
there.
is actually out there, so that you are seeing that.
Yeah.
cantilever.
That's
It
this
actually-
that's this column right here.
Right.
Yes.
And then those lines out there would be roof drains that need to be, probably won't be straight down like that, but
Yeah, because we have a planter here and we have a planter here.
Chain.
yeah, something like that.
Any other questions from applicants? For the applicant.
The existing house is stucco and
It's actually a concrete block, which is, which you can kind of see. I don't know if you can pick it up in the pictures because it's,
I remember seeing that it had like little radius edges too.
Yeah, the corners are radiused, and it has. It's probably about a 4 by 14, 16.
yeah. And the garage is that too.
The garage is that too.
And what are
And
you
what we
going
were
to be?
doing is proposing that face to be the same, is to match that material across the face here, because right now that line of existing is there. So we want to continue that across. And the only place it really kind of, there's a planter.
Then what does it do when it turns the corner?
There's a planter there, which you wouldn't probably see a whole lot of it.
Right here.
Yeah, so you see this corner here and a little bit of it there.
So that brick
But we would
comes around.
probably continue that around, yeah.
And then above that you'd have stucco?
Yeah, well, that's what we're proposing to do.
And the existing roof is comp?
Yes,
And this would be a new comp?
a new comp to match.
And the-
there's
and the-
some solar panels
the,
up there too.
And this trellis is coming down?
That one's coming down and will get reconfigured. The way it is right now, those columns, we're attaching it back into the house to make more usable space up there. The way it's freestanding now, and so there's all these columns out in that terrace that basically really inhibits how that space can get used with
So what
tables.
happens to you have new trellis?
Yeah,
I didn't quite catch where the,
It'd just be a patio, the roof kind of tying back into the main house with one column out there.
so this is a new roof?
Yeah, it's kind of a new roof.
flat
And what
roof.
we're talking about, actually, it's a shallower roof. It's not flat. And we're talking about doing like a lightweight green roof because it is something that we look down on, but we're still exploring that.
I have a question. Is there any fill going to be happening right here in this zone?
If anything, it might be actually cut a little bit right there because there's several terraces, and this is.
So you will have retaining walls built along the property line?
Yeah. And there are existing right now because all of these sites, our site is, well, you can see it in the pictures. I don't
Yeah.
remember which one's lower, but they all gradually step.
Another question, Mr. Chair. How are you going to fence the swimming pool?
Well, there is an existing fence here on the side yard and all the way around, where there's an existing gate on the driveway that's, I think, located here at the corner, and then we're actually going to propose to move that forward a little bit just to provide a little more space for kids to play before it starts to slope off towards the street. And then we have a cover over this as well.
The covers don't count anymore.
They don't?
No.
Crap.
No, that changed the first of the year.
So then if you have to put an alarm on every one of your doors if you don't fence the pool.
Yeah.
I love covers.
Well, we'll probably do the cover anyway, just because they have small children and they're not. But we'll see.
Good. Any other questions, and we'll move to comments.
You want to talk about paving materials around the pool deck?
You know, we're not sure at this point. We're in the process of still looking at the budget. We've talked about tile. We've also talked about maybe exposed aggregate. We're not sure at this point.
I have a question for the landscape people. This planter will eventually see landscaping drawings for. Should we just assume we want to see landscaping for the entire house from like the back portion? From whatever this gate is here. All right. Just so that we're on the same page.
We were going to do that.
Okay. So, comments from anybody else?
Well, are we into comments now?
Comments, you betcha.
We have, I think, our guideline for deck to property line is 15 feet. And I don't see that it would be hurtful to move that a little further away from the property line, this part over here, so that we get our 15 feet separation from the property. I mean, generally speaking, I think it's a very creative way to, to help a small house enlarge. It won't ever be seen by too many people, but I feel that this cantilevered roof that's going way out there, and then these downspouts, there's going to be the appearance that the downspouts are supporting the roof, and that's going to look funny. It's going to look weird, and you need to either pull those back into the wall or get some columns out there that you can run the downspouts down. I would study that, because I think it's kind of an architectural vagary, the way it's happening. Generally speaking, I'd be supportive of the project.
Thank you. Comments from anybody else, or concerns we want to look at the next time?
Yeah, I'm not really there to say that I would support this, because I just think that the combination of the basement and the reduction for the size and the style, just the combination isn't really feeling compatible right now to me.
Okay. Denise.
Well, I have quite the opposite point of view. I think that it's very cohesive design, and I can support it.
Thank you.
My only question and concern is the pool being in the side yard setback. Is there a reason it's
I think
in the setback?
we were told we could go to 5 feet was our minimum.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And that's a 6 foot setback, so that's why we just pushed it over as far as we could.
And it being in such a small yard, we're just trying to maximize, so it's not a big hot tub. So that's mainly the reason. And we're landscaping, and I don't know if you can tell. Actually, I don't know if I can the thing. So the existing garage. Actually, I should show. There's the neighbor's garage sits adjacent to us there. I don't know if you can see that. This is the other neighbor's garage that sits here, and then there's a big hedge, and then you can see from the pictures there's a lot of landscaping on the back side of this, and then this is kind of this no man's land between our fence.
Let me put this right here for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we are putting the planter there to kind of buffer and just so, 'cause they do have a second story that kind of looks down into this yard. But
Any other comments for the applicant? We'll go for a motion.
One other comment is that with the excavation for the pool and the excavation for the basement, there'll be a lot of export, because you won't be able to use that on site, it's a small site. So I think it's going to be important for you to give consideration to, because this is a fairly compact neighborhood, Samarkand, narrow streets and houses are fairly close together. We want you to give some consideration to the routes that you're going to take to get that stuff out of there. We'd like to probably see a number. What will that cubic feet be? And what are your thoughts as to try not to disrupt the neighborhood with these big trucks? Give that some thought.
Well, if there's no other discussion, I will float a motion, and that is for the applicant to move on to the staff hearing officer and return back to the full board with the following comments. The board as a whole does not have a concern with the extra storage space or accessory space due to the fact that it's located below grade and there is minimal access from the exterior to the room itself. The second comment would be that the board would like the applicant to move the guardrail at the deck so that the deck area is at least 15 feet from the side yard property line. And I'll leave this off for a minute. The applicant is to return with a conceptual landscape plan and to address hardscape surfaces, and if the driveway is going to be replaced, driving material as well. The applicant is to return with a roof plan addressing downspouts along the south elevation of the rec room. Applicant is to address the excessive, or to provide cut and fill numbers and to suggest some construction truck routes or work routes for the export. And then the last comment is, I'll leave it off the motion, but someone else can comment about the railing here that needs the mod. I'll let someone else comment, but that's the motion. We need
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, and add that the board does recommend, or we don't recommend, but the board does not find that the modification for the railing would have any, that the board we communicate to the modification hearing officer that we don't feel that this modification would have any impact on the neighborhood.
So it's the railing above the garage that the board does not have a concern with, as long as that the deck is moved at least 15 feet from the property line.
Correct.
So there's a first. Is there a second? Second by Aaron. Any other discussion on this motion?
Yeah, under discussion, did we talk about a rainwater management program or something?
Not at all.
There's a ton of hardscape on here, so
So
we have to have some sort of management.
if it's all right with Mr. Mahan to add some...
Add that to the motion of the rainwater management program.
And Aaron's okay with that as well? Yes. Cool. Any other discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And ladies and gentlemen, that ends the Single Family Design Board.
But I don't understand. They got a gal there, a